Welcome back, dear learners, in your science class. In the last video, we have learned about this chapter number 4 of your NCERT textbook, Materials, Metals and Non-Metals, in which we have seen the physical properties of metals and non-metals, on the basis of which we can distinguish or we can differentiate between different types of materials. In this video, we are going to learn about several chemical properties of metals and non-metals. So let us start with the reaction with oxygen, that is O2. First of all, we are going to see the reaction of some metals with oxygen. From previous classes, you must have learned or you must have remembered the reaction of iron with oxygen and water. That is, when iron is exposed to air for longer time, it reacts with the oxygen which is present in air along with the moisture content, that is the water content of air, and it forms iron oxide, that is rust. Now this we will see in the form of your chemical equation. It is Fe, that is iron. Fe stands for ferrum. Fe stands for ferrum, which is the Latin name of iron. So we are just taking it as Fe, plus oxygen O2 plus H2O, that is water. When all these things combine, on the other side of arrow we will get the end product, and the end product is Fe2O3H2O, that is iron oxide, which is known as rust. The next metal is magnesium. When magnesium reacts with oxygen, it gives us magnesium oxide. In a similar way, when copper is exposed to air, it reacts with water, oxygen along with carbon dioxide which is present in air, and it forms a green colored compound. So on a copper vessel, you can see after a long time, you can see green colored dots or the pigments present on the surface of copper vessels. Now they are a mixture of two different compounds, that is copper hydroxide CuOH twice and copper carbonate, that is CuCO3. Now you can see that I have written down basic thrice in the bracket. Okay, so this basic is nothing but the nature of the metal oxides. The nature of metal oxide which are formed are basic in nature. This we can test with the help of a litmus paper. When we add some water in the solution, add some water to the end product, and we form a solution by inserting a red litmus paper, we can observe that the red litmus paper will become or will turn blue in color. That means all the metal oxides are basic in nature. Let us now learn the reaction of non-metals with oxygen. So here we are taking the example of sulfur. An activity is given to you about demonstration to be demonstrated by a teacher, and this activity tells you that when you are going to heat the sulfur in presence of oxygen or in air, and after heating, when you insert it, some gas starts releasing, and you have to insert it inside a glass jar, and you have to just keep a lid over it so that no gas should be escaped. After some time, when all the gas has came out from the sulfur, what you are going to do is you are supposed to add some amount of water and you have to shake the glass jar. Then we are going to check that with the help of a litmus paper. So what we will observe? We will observe that sulfur has combined, or sulfur reacts with oxygen while burning. As we all know that burning requires oxygen. Oxygen is a necessity for burning to take place. Then it gives you sulfur dioxide, Now this sulfur dioxide is acidic in nature. This we will come to know with the help of the litmus paper test, where our litmus paper will our blue litmus paper will turn acidic and red litmus paper does not show any reaction. So with this we will come to know that this solution or this sulfur dioxide solution is acidic in nature. The similar way we can burn carbon in presence of oxygen, and by this reaction we will get carbon dioxide. Again, by checking with this litmus paper, we will come to know that carbon dioxide is also acidic in nature. So with this reaction with oxygen, we will come to an end that metal oxides are basic in nature and non-metal oxides are acidic in nature. Now we have the reaction of metals and non-metals with water, that is H2O. Here an activity is given to you where sodium metal is wrapped in cotton. It is taken out from kerosene. So first of all, let us know why it is kept in kerosene. Sodium metal is highly reactive, and when it comes in contact with water, it suddenly reacts and start giving so much heat, and it somewhat explodes. Okay, it somewhat explodes like a bomb or like your pataka. Okay, so it gives out that popping sound, and it burns. It starts burning when it comes in contact with water. So due to this reason, as water is present in atmosphere or air, we have to keep it away from water, and hence we are to immerse the sodium metal into kerosene. We cannot touch sodium metal with our hands. We have to use some forceps or any other material to take it out. We have already seen that sodium metal is so soft that we can cut it with the help of a knife. So what we are going to do in this experiment or in this activity is, we are going to take out a small piece of sodium metal. We are going to wrap it with cotton, and after this we are going to immerse it into a beaker which contains half of the water. Okay, or the beaker which is filled half with the water. Now after some times, what will happen, as soon as we immerse it, the cotton will absorb water, and due to this the water will reach sodium metal and it will start exploding, or it will start giving out heat. A large amount of heat is associated. Along with that, we will be able to see that some light is coming out, as well as some popping sound is also coming. So this popping sound is due to the presence of hydrogen gas which is releasing, and a lot of heat is released. So this reaction is known as exothermic reaction, wherein heat is associated or heat is given out. So it is exothermic reaction. So we are not going to see the reaction just from the front of the beaker. We are to be away from the beaker, and we have to just focus on the activity from a little distance. So we will observe that sodium, which is in Latin known as natrium, and that's why it is denoted by Na, when comes in contact with water, it gives NaOH, that is sodium hydroxide, which is again a base. Sodium hydroxide is a base, so it is basic in nature, along with hydrogen gas and a lot of heat. In the similar way, potassium, that is kalium, can also react with water to give potassium hydroxide, hydrogen and heat. Now for non-metals, the non-metals do not react with water, but their oxides may react with water, and the examples are given to you. For sulfur dioxide, when it reacts with water, it gives us sulfuric acid H2SO3. H2SO3 is sulfuric acid, not sulfurous acid, and not our sulfuric acid, which is H2SO4. So sulfurous acid is H2SO3. Then when carbon dioxide, which is again a non-metal oxide, when it reacts with water, it gives carbonic acid, which is CO. CO is your carbon monoxide. Carbonic acid is H2CO3. So this H2CO3, that is carbonic acid, and H2SO3, sulfurous acid, they are formed by the reaction of non-metal oxides with water. The next reaction is reaction with acids. So here, first of all, what are acids? We have learnt about acids and bases in class 7th in detail, and we have learned so many organic and inorganic acids and bases. Now here, out of these, the most commonly used acids are inorganic acids are HCl, that is hydrochloric acid, and H2SO4, that is sulfuric acid. Here we are going to get this equation. When a metal reacts with an acid, it gives a metal salt along with hydrogen gas. So the first example is of magnesium. When magnesium reacts with hydrochloric acid, it gives us magnesium chloride and hydrogen gas escapes. Again, aluminium metal, when it reacts with hydrochloric acid, it gives us aluminium chloride along with hydrogen gas. Now here we are taking copper. It reacts with sulfuric acid H2SO4 and it gives us copper sulfate CuSO4 plus hydrogen gas. Now to know this, we are going to perform this activity, which is in which activity the reaction of metals and non-metals with acids are checked. So we are taking different metals and non-metals like magnesium ribbon, aluminum foil, iron filings, and copper wire, which is peeled out from the plastic wrap. Okay, the internal thin wire made up of copper. These are the metals. Then charcoal powder and sulfur powder, which are also available, and they are non-metals. Now we are going to check their reaction with dilute hydrochloric acid and dilute sulfuric acid, and we will come to know that at room temperature all the acids, they react with all the metals react with any of the acids to give us metal salt along with hydrogen gas. Now this hydrogen gas escapes with a popping sound or a pop sound. It is like your burning of your pataka. A pop sound comes out, or you can also hear this sound while making popcorns. Okay, the popcorns, the corn seeds or the maize seeds, they pop out, and that sound is known as popping sound. So we will come to hear a popping sound due to escape of hydrogen gas. Now here we can see that magnesium and aluminium, they react with hydrochloric acid, but copper does not show any reaction with hydrochloric acid. Instead, it reacts with sulfuric acid and gives us copper sulfate. In a similar way, iron filings also react with sulfuric acid and they give us FeSO4, that is iron sulfate or ferrous sulfate. Okay, it is ferrous sulfate, as I have already told you that Fe stands for ferrum, which is the Latin name of iron, along with release of hydrogen gas. Now again we will see that non-metals do not react with acid and we will not get any reaction or any end product or any pop sound with the reaction of non-metal with acids. Moving on to the next reaction, that is reaction of metals and non-metals with base. So when a metal reacts with a base, it gives us a salt along with hydrogen gas. This we can observe with the help of an activity given to you, where you have to take a test tube in which we are going to add 5 ml of water. In the same test tube we are going to add sodium hydroxide pellets, which is a base. Sodium hydroxide is a base, so we are going to add sodium hydroxide pellets inside, and we are going to add a small piece of aluminum foil, which is a metal. Aluminium is a metal, so we are adding a metal inside this solution, which is a basic solution. Okay, sodium hydroxide, which is a base, when dissolved in water, water is neutral, so base plus water is a base. The solution is basic in nature, and we are adding a metal, that is aluminum foil. Now what will happen when we take a burning matchstick near the end of the test tube? Pop sound comes out. This pop sound indicates the release of hydrogen gas, as we have observed earlier in reaction with acids. So this pop sound tells us that hydrogen gas is releasing and a salt is forming. Now let us take an example and we will come to know which kind of a salt is formed. So aluminium Al, when reacts with sodium hydroxide, it gives sodium aluminate, NaAlO2, sodium aluminate, which is a salt, along with hydrogen gas. Again, zinc, which is again a metal. So zinc, when reacts with sodium hydroxide, that is a base, metal plus base, it gives you salt and hydrogen. So this salt here is sodium zincate and hydrogen gas. Now the reactions of non-metals with bases are complex, and hence we are not going to study these reactions in class 8. Our last reaction is a displacement reaction. You must have remembered an activity in class 7 wherein we have used copper sulfate, zinc sulfate, iron sulfate, and we have added other metals like zinc granules, iron nail or filings, copper filings or copper wire. And then we have observed that copper sulfate, which is blue in color, it changes its color and becomes colorless when zinc is added into the copper sulfate solution. The blue colored copper sulfate solution, when zinc is added or zinc granules are added in the solution, after some time we will observe that zinc sulfate, ZnSO4, has formed. This we can see with the help of a solution, that the color of the solution changes from blue to colorless, and you can see some copper turnings or the small portions or small red colored dots. Okay, so those red colored materials are copper. Again, if copper sulfate solution, if it is added or if it is mixed with iron, whether we can take iron filings or iron nail, then we will observe that a green colored ferrous sulfate solution has been formed along with the red colored turnings or the red colored granules, small granules. So with this we can say that zinc has displaced copper in the first reaction and iron has again displaced copper in the second reaction. So basically our displacement reaction is the one in which one element takes place of another element in the reaction or in the chemical formula, and another compound is formed. A new compound is formed when one element takes place of another element from an existing compound. Here again we are given an activity in which we have taken 5 beakers in a row, in which we have kept copper sulfate solution in first 2 beakers, then zinc sulfate solution in another 2 beakers, and iron sulfate solution in the next beaker or in the last beaker. In the copper sulfate solution, we have added zinc granules and iron nail in first and second beaker. Then in third beaker, along with zinc sulfate, we have added copper turnings, and in iron sulfate also we have added copper turnings. Then zinc sulfate, we have added in the solution of zinc sulfate the iron nail. And after some time we will observe that the color of the solutions in beaker A and B has changed, but not in the beaker C, D and E. Okay, here you can see the beaker A and B, they have changed the color. Beaker C, D and E, we are not able to see any change. So no change has occurred. Now with this we can say that zinc is more reactive than copper as it has displaced copper. Again, iron is more reactive than copper as it has replaced or displaced copper. Now copper is less reactive than zinc in the third one, and copper is less reactive than iron. And in the last one we can say that iron is less reactive than zinc. So basically ultimately we will come to know that copper is the least reactive, then comes iron, and finally zinc is the most reactive metal in this displacement reaction. So with this we have completed all the chemical properties of metals and non-metals. The last topic of the chapter is uses of metals and non-metals. So uses of metals we have already seen when we have learnt about metals and non-metals, or in the previous classes, that the metals are used in various places, in machineries, automobile parts, then aeroplanes, trains and satellites are made using different types of metals. Industrial gadgets are used with the help of metals. Then cooking utensils are made up of metals. Water boilers and different electrical appliances are made up of metals. And the reason why they are used in such places is obviously their physical and chemical properties. Okay, depending upon their physical and chemical properties, they are used in different places as shown. Now the non-metals are also used in various places, or in different places we use the non-metals. The very first thing where the non-metals are used is in the reaction of breathing, where we breathe in or inhale a non-metal, that is oxygen. Okay, so in breathing we inhale a non-metal, that is oxygen. Again here we have different fertilizers which are made up of non-metals like nitrogen, potassium and phosphorus. So NPK, we have heard about NPK, which is a fertilizer, in our first chapter, crop production and management. Then antiseptics. In making different antiseptics, there is an antiseptic solution which is purple in color, okay, which is widely used. So this antiseptic consists of iodine. It is simply known as iodine tincture. Then we have crackers. The crackers consist of phosphorus. Why phosphorus? Because phosphorus can emit different colored lights. When it reacts with different other elements, it creates or it emits out different colored lights. Sometimes it is red in color, sometimes it is yellow in color. So there are different types of lights which are emitted from phosphorus, and hence phosphorus is used in making or manufacturing the crackers. Then in water purifiers, for purifying the water, we use chlorine gas. We pass the chlorine gas through water to purify it or to remove, to kill so many bacteria which are present in the water. Then as a conductor, we have seen that graphite, which is a form of carbon, is the only non-metal which can conduct electricity, and hence it is used as a conductor at several places. Then carbon and carbon compounds, different carbon products like petroleum, diesel and so on, they all are used as fuel. Dyes and pesticides consist of bromine, which is again a non-metal. So with this we have completed uses of metals and non-metals and a complete chapter, materials, metals and non-metals. I hope you all have understood the chapter. If not, please go through the video once again to clarify your doubts, and still if you have any doubts you can ask me. Thank you and have a safe day. God bless you all. Goodbye.